4:11 and ready. Okay. With the hairdryer going during our phone call, it was possible that I hadn't heard her correctly. So I turned it off in time to hear her say, "So I gave him your number, and he'll probably be calling you on Sunday evening." Mom, who exactly will be calling me? You'll love him. He is absolutely delicious. I turned the hairdryer back on, first to muffle the rest of the conversation, and second to dry my hair so I could leave my apartment and go over to my mother's apartment to kill her. At 21, I had been on my own for 2 relatively uneventful and successful years, although according to my mother, I was living like a rat in a dark hole. Granted, my studio apartment did have a shower stall in the kitchen, and yes, my laundry basket doubled as my bookshelf and my coat closet, but I was living without any parental assistance whatsoever, and proud as punch, I often reminded my mother that it was her splendid job of raising me that had contributed to this newly minted young adult. For some reason, though, my mother lacked confidence in 2 of my abilities: choosing the right food groups and choosing the right men. Now, I'll give her the one in the nutrition department, as I sustain myself entirely on pasta, peanut butter, and Malamars. When it came to the romance department, however, I really wasn't quite sure what she was quibbling about. I had had only 2 boyfriends in my entire life. Kevin turned out to be gay and left me for Paul. Wally, my date for the junior prom, turned out to be in love with my best friend Libby and left with her after the second dance. You can't fault me for either one of those outcomes, though my mom seemed to do so at every turn. When I arrived at, or truthfully, more appropriately, barged into my mom's apartment, she was humming softly while braiding my younger sister's hair. "Hi, honey. I didn't know you were stopping by." "Could you please leave the room?" I said to my sister. "I need to speak to Mom alone." It was then that I smelled the meatloaf with gravy, saw the mashed potatoes on the counter, and knew that there was an apple pie cooling somewhere on an oven rack. The killing part would have to be put on hold until after dinner. During dessert, my mom gave me a little recitation. So, I was attending a civic meeting at the library, and the moderator asked for comments after his speech. This very handsome young man raised his hand and said some things that sounded like they had come right out of your mouth. I couldn't believe my ears. He expressed himself beautifully. He was articulate, bright, witty. I just knew the 2 of you would have so much in common and hit it off perfectly. It was destiny I was there. I left without saying goodbye, though I called when I returned home to make sure she understood why I had left without saying goodbye. The next day, I found out more details about the mystery man my mom had encountered at the library. Apparently, she accosted him by nonfiction. Psst, 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 psst. I have a daughter you would love. Thank you, I'm really very flattered, but I'm not in the market for dating right now. You're not married, are you? No, Actually, I'm divorced from my high school sweetheart, and I have 2 very young children. I guess he thought this information would be sufficient to send any mother on her way. Oh no, not my mother. She proceeded with gusto. You seem very intelligent and open-minded. I loved your comments after the meeting. A nod from the kind stranger. May I ask how old you are? I'll be 32. My daughter is only 21, but she's incredibly mature for her age. I would love for you to meet her. Why don't you give her a call Sunday evening? She's generally home by 7 or 8. Much to my mom's chagrin, he didn't call Sunday because I imagine he wanted to avoid any daughter whose mother had a canvas for her love life. Unfortunately, they met up again 2 weeks later for a follow-up meeting at the library. And this time, there was no avoiding the inevitable. I guess he figured he'd go through with the matchmaking or risk being haunted by my mother for life. He took the lesser of 2 evils. She phoned to share the exciting news. He's calling Sunday evening. Sound friendly. When she mentioned that his name was Stu, all I could think of was beef. He sounded nasal on the phone. There was nothing he said that sounded remotely like anything I would ever think, do, or say. So my mom's, "You have so much in common," comment didn't hold a shred of truth. To prevent further matchmaking attempts, I devised a plan, one meant to embarrass and subdue my mom and her enthusiasm for my love life. The evening of the dreaded date, I borrowed a gigantic, flouncy, bouncy, huge, multicolored, rainbow-striped top from my neighbor who happened to be 7 months pregnant at the time. I looked like a circus tent. I took my long hair and pinned it to the top of my head, adding gel down the middle to create a mohawk effect. I applied enough eyeliner to have gained Alice Cooper's approval. And for the finishing touch, painted on thick red lipstick that would have made Bozo proud. The effect was complete. Utter disaster. Stu did not describe himself, and my mom's description could not be trusted. So I stationed myself at the predetermined location 15 minutes early in case I needed to make a quick exit. Moments later, in walked a man I wished my mother would have known was my type, rugged with a boyish grin. "Lisa?" Oh, no. No way. This can't be happening. "Stu?" He smiled and shook my hand. I excused myself and raced to the restroom. Down came the hair, off came the eyeliner, on came a delicate shade of light pink lip gloss. The rainbow tent had to stay, that or go naked. I returned to the lobby and the gorgeous stranger. "Is it something I said?" he wondered. I giggled. We were escorted to a booth in the back where we sat for 4 hours and shared our life stories and some of our best-kept secrets. He told me he gets cold sores every 4 months. I told him I would never marry a man who gets cold sores every 4 months and drinks chocolate milk. He told me he hadn't asked me to. I told him he would. There were no future matchmaking efforts on the part of my mother. She got it right on the very first try. This year, Stu and I celebrated our 40th wedding anniversary. Thank you. Thank you. The children he had mentioned so long ago are now 46 and 50, with 6 magnificent kids between them. Stu's ex-wife is one of our dearest friends, and the woman who made all this joy possible would have turned 95 this month. I miss her beyond words. So does Stu. I hope she celebrated the lifelong gift she gave us with all of her friends in heaven. My mother, the matchmaker. God bless.